What is up, guys? It is Ben. Welcome back to the channel, and we are here today for week 16 of the NFL picks and predictions. And last week's slate had a whole bunch of crazy games and crazy outcomes, and we'll dive deeper into those games later in the video. But before we get started, let's talk about last week's predictions. And sure enough, there weren't many upsets like I was predicting, so I didn't do as well, but I had 9 and 7 for the week, which brings my season total to 132 wins and 90 losses. And with that out of the way, let's get started with the Thursday night matchup, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos such as these. Denver Broncos and LA Chargers. For this Thursday night football, we have ourselves a matchup in the AFC West as the Denver Broncos head to LA to take on the Chargers. Now, Denver, they had a really good game against the Indianapolis Colts, scoring 31-13. It was a tale of two halves, let's just say that. Game started off with a bang for Indianapolis, where Anthony Richardson scored the first touchdown of the game on the first drive, and it kind of slowed down for both teams until halftime. Then to start the third quarter, there was a very detrimental mistake that Jonathan Taylor had, where he dropped the ball before the goal line. I'm going to hold my opinions about the Colts until I get to their game. But after consecutive holds by the defense and 2 touchdown passes from Bo Nix, the Broncos held on to the lead with a considerable margin. And for the LA Chargers, they had a loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, losing 40-17. It was a pretty even game between the two teams. It was actually a 17-13 lead at halftime for the Chargers, and they did not score for the rest of the game. There was no chemistry and there was no rhythm for the Chargers in the second half, which led to the Buccaneers scoring 27 unanswered points. If that doesn't kill your morale, then I don't know what would. Putting these two teams together, I'm going to go with the more explosive team, and that is the Denver Broncos to beat the LA Chargers on the road. If the Broncos do capitalize on this win, I think Bo Nix unanimously will be named Rookie of the Year. I know it still might be early to say anything because I know it's still a very competitive spot, but give me the Broncos to win this one on the road, 27-17. Houston Texans and Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, we have 2 NFL games for Saturday, and the first one's going to be the Houston Texans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. Now, this one I think is going to be more exciting between the two, so let's break this down. The Houston Texans are coming off of a win against the Miami Dolphins, beating them 20-12. CJ Stroud had another good day. I mean, he didn't have to be the best CJ Stroud that we can possibly see and imagine, but he still had a really good game. I mean, the stats show that he had 131 yards in passing, but he also had 2 touchdown passes to Nico Collins. What you'll also see on the stat chart is that Joe Mixon did not have a good game. He had less than 30 yards in rushing. He got shaken up early in the game to a really hard hit, but I'm sure that he'll probably bounce back this week. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, if you guys had the Browns for every single week of the season, I can see that you are the best team in the NFL. But your performance on your matchup against the Cleveland Browns was just a very lackluster game. Juju Smith-Schuster scored your first touchdown, and then you had Noah Gray and Xavier Worthy score your other 2 touchdowns, but you guys only scored 21 points on this team. And here's a fun fact. The Kansas City Chiefs are one of 4 teams to not have a single game this season where they have scored at least 30 points. And the 3 other teams are the New England Patriots with 3 wins, the New York Giants with 2 wins, and the Las Vegas Raiders with 2 wins. And this is a 13-win team. Last team to do that was the 1925 Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, and that's going back a while. Between these two teams, I have to go with the Houston Texans to win this one. They've already secured the AFC South Division for the 2nd year in a row. It's basically for us as Colts fans, whatever. I feel like our season's already done, and I'm not looking forward to see the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs for the 15,000th year in a row. So give me Houston to win this on the road in Arrowhead, 31-24. Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. For our second and final Saturday game, we have the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was to be a brutal AFC North matchup, as it always is. The Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off of a loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, losing 27-13. If anything horribly wrong could go for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was sure enough during this game. Russell Wilson had nothing going on. He had 128 yards with only 1 touchdown pass to Pat Freiermuth. Najee Harris only had 14 yards in carries. They had to rely on Chris Boswell for 2 field goals, and TJ Watt went down with apparent foot injury in the 4th quarter. Not a good time to fall apart right now in the season. And for the Baltimore Ravens, you had an easy matchup against the New York Giants on the road where you beat them 35-14. Hold on, let me rephrase that. It was a wonderful day for you guys. Lamar Jackson had 5 touchdown passes for almost 300 yards. Even though that Derrick Henry did not get a touchdown or exceed 100 yards in the game, he did have at least 4.8 yards a carry. If you're putting both of these teams together, I am going to pick the Baltimore Ravens to win this one at home. Putting these two teams together, it is a completely different story compared to their last matchup a few weeks ago. The Steelers were red hot. and the Ravens were coming off of a loss. Now the script is flipped. It'll be a tough matchup, but I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to win this one. If they can get Derrick Henry running the ball for over 100 yards, as well as getting a touchdown, I think it's going to be a big factor. As well as the skills with Lamar Jackson basically being a human cheat code, I can't see why they can't win at home. So give me Baltimore to win this against the Steelers in the exact same score as they did against the Giants, 35-14. Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals. Another AFC North matchup, but this is going to be the first Sunday game. The second battle for Ohio takes place in Paycor Stadium, where the Cleveland Browns take on their state rival, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cleveland Browns are coming off of a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, losing 21-7. Their only touchdown was late in the fourth quarter during garbage time, where Jerome Ford ran it in for the end zone. And here's where it gets kind of depressing. Jameis Winston had 3 interceptions. Count them, 3. And he only had 146 yards in passing, and 108 of that went to Jerry Jeudy. I do like their connection with each other, but it seems too little too late right now. So if Winston were to return next year for the Browns and he becomes the starting quarterback, I would like to see how that kind of works out for them next season, if they're still on the team next season. And for the Cincinnati Bengals, you had a win over the Tennessee Titans on the road, beating them 37-27. Game did not start off the way you wanted to. I mean, there was an interception early in the game, which led to a Tennessee touchdown. You guys did answer back quickly, and I felt like it was going to be the demise of the defense yet again. Somehow, some way, Cincinnati was going to mess it up, but that really didn't happen. You guys had 4 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6. You managed to pick off Will Levis 3 times and Mason Rudolph once. You managed to have Will Levis fumble the ball, got him benched, and after watching the replay, I was rubbing my eyes. Sam Hubbard had a offensive receiving touchdown, which you always have to cheer on the big guy, but he didn't return to the game after that play, dealing with a knee injury. With these two teams, it's more desperate for the Bengals to get a win, to try to make sure that they have at least some sort of hope to get to the playoffs. It's very slim, but it's not zero, unlike Cleveland's. So Cincinnati should not have a problem to take this at home, 31-17. Tennessee Titans and Indianapolis Colts. Just when I stopped talking about the Titans, I gotta talk about them again. Tennessee is coming off of a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, losing 37-27. Again, I feel like this is Groundhog's Day. The game started off very exciting for you guys. You had a touchdown from a turnover from Joe Burrow. After that, Tajay Spears got lifted up into the end zone as if he was part of a Creed music video. And then the game just basically fell apart for you. Will Levis had 4 turnovers of his own, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble. He made another meme out of himself. Levis was benched in favor of Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, and his stats looked a lot better than Will Levis's. 209 yards in passing, 2 touchdowns, but he also had 1 interception. And by the looks of it, it looks like Mason Rudolph is going to be the starting quarterback for the Titans moving forward for the rest of the season. So who knows what to expect of the Titans coming into this matchup. And as for the Indianapolis Colts, gosh.
Why would you do that?
Seriously?
We've seen this so many times with players who are thinking about their touchdown dance and their celebration before they even reach the end zone, only to drop it right before the line. Deshaun Jackson is one that comes into mind, and a few others, but I'm not going to go into detail with that. But Jonathan Taylor was the last person I would expect to do such a thing as that. It is one of the most boneheaded moves in football, and I just don't understand how this is still happening. And let's not talk about the pick 6 that A.D. Mitchell threw back to Anthony Richardson, or tried to. It's just, my blood's boiling already. Next. If it wasn't for my Colts playing, it would be an automatic skip. I would not want to watch this game whatsoever. But if I had to pick, I still love my Colts through and through. Give me the win against the Titans. They still have a chance to make the playoffs, even though it is super slim. There is still a chance. The only person who I'm worried about is Mason Rudolph. The Colts have been notorious this season to show off that backup quarterbacks can be Patrick Mahomes against our defense. Malik Willis comes into mind. But Colts fans, let's stay positive on this one. Colts are going to win 27-21. New York Giants and Atlanta Falcons. This week, the New York Giants are heading down to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. New York is coming off of a loss to the Baltimore Ravens, losing 35-14 in a sad performance. The only constant is that Malik Neighbors is Malik Neighbors. He's a great player, but he's wasting his career. I know he's a rookie, but he's wasting his career in New York right now. And nothing else could be said about the quarterback room for the Giants because they had to go to Tim Boyle to replace Tommy DeVito, who suffered a concussion midway through the game.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Probably just safe to say that the Giants are just going to be clearing out everybody, maybe relocating them to a different state, maybe actually go to New York instead of New Jersey. I don't know. Who wants to buy a team? And for the Atlanta Falcons, you guys are coming off of a low-scoring game against the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football, winning 15-9. To put this lightly, you guys did just enough to beat the Raiders. Game started off well, a Drake London touchdown for 30 yards, but then momentum kind of fizzled out. But the only other weird score that you guys had besides the 2 field goals by Young-Ho Koo was a safety tackling Alexander Madison in the end zone. Besides that, not much else happened. And as of recording this, Michael Penix Jr., your rookie quarterback, will be starting for the Falcons, replacing Kirk Cousins, moving forward for the rest of the season. You guys are still in contention for the playoffs, so it's a bold move. I don't know, we'll see what happens. Regardless of Michael Penix starting for the Falcons, I still think that Atlanta is going to take care of business against the Giants. They just have an overall better team, and this goes back to last week's video where I think the Giants are just going to purposely tank. Will it be a one-sided game? Maybe. Think the Giants will maybe score 1 touchdown to make it look interesting? Maybe 2. But it's going to be exciting to see how the Falcons are going to look like in the next few years with Penix under center. So give me Atlanta to win this one 28-7. Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears. NFC North matchup as iconic as football itself. The Detroit Lions are heading across Lake Michigan to take on the Chicago Bears. Last week, Detroit suffered a loss in what I think is potentially going to be the Super Bowl preview to the Buffalo Bills. A high-scoring affair, 42-48. There were so many good things that happened in this game. I mean, just high scoring. I mean, it's just so fun to watch that. Jared Goff had 5 touchdown passes. He threw for almost 500 yards, 494 to be exact. But who did he throw them all to? Amari St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick, and Dan Skipper. Everyone shared the ball that game. But it did come at a price as 4 Lions players ended up falling down to the injury bug. 3 of which are out for the season potentially, and possibly a 4th as David Montgomery, their star running back, got hurt with an MCL injury, and he is listed as out for this game. For the Chicago Bears, you guys had a loss against the Minnesota Vikings, losing 30-12. Your hopeful 4-2 record early in the season has now become 4-10, and the season record isn't bleeding, it's hemorrhaging. But in this game, Caleb Williams threw for almost 200 yards. He had 1 touchdown pass to Keenan Allen, but he looked somewhat lost during the game. The one thing I want to point out is that he was sacked twice. That's one of his lighter games. He's usually getting sacked 4 to 5 times a game, it feels like. But the 2 main contributors through the game were Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift, with Allen having the only touchdown for the Bears. To be honest, I only watched a few seconds of this game. It was really hard to keep up with both of the doubleheader last week. Don't know what else to say. Putting these 2 teams together, even though they are on the road, I think that the Detroit Lions are going to destroy, if not obliterate, the Chicago Bears. Their last matchup, the Bears imploded on themselves. Realistically, the Bears beat the Bears that game, and Matt Eberflus signed his own pink slip. But how the Lions have played all season, I can't see them not score anything less than 35 points. So I'm going to say the Lions are going to take this on the road with a win, 41-10. Arizona Cardinals and Carolina Panthers. The Arizona Cardinals are heading out on the road with Carolina on their mind to take on the Panthers. Last week they had a matchup against the New England Patriots where they beat them 30-17. And I want to establish this one more time. This was the week of the big man. And another prime example of this was Jonah Williams, the offensive lineman for the Cardinals, seeing their wide receiver Greg Dortch fumble the ball in the end zone just in time to land on top of the football, scoring a touchdown. Gotta love those plays when the big man comes in clutch. And for the most part, it was Arizona that took over that game for the beginning until the very end. It wasn't until the 4th quarter where Drake May threw his first touchdown pass of the day and scored a rushing touchdown of his own. Cardinals, if you can play like this against every team, you have no problem whatsoever in the playoffs. And whatever momentum that the Carolina Panthers had going into this game against the Dallas Cowboys was quickly fizzled out by a Dallas team that was hungry for consecutive wins. The Panthers, they lost their game against the Cowboys, losing 30-14. On paper, Bryce Young and Cooper Rush remotely had the same amount of yardage as well as attempts on throwing. It was only about 1 to 2 yards difference. The only problem was Cooper Rush threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, and Bryce Young had 1 touchdown with 2 interceptions. And those crucial mistakes are what led to the loss. Main highlight was the touchdown pass that Bryce Young threw to Jalen Coker, where he himself had 110 receiving yards. But Chuba Hubbard only had 10 carries for 32 yards. You're not going to win many games doing that. Between these 2 teams, I am going to go with the Arizona Cardinals to win this one. I think they just have the momentum to build themselves onto what could be a potential playoff berth. This is also around the same time where Kyler Murray starts to kind of find his footing, where he can see how he's going to perform in the playoffs. And for the Panthers, I just don't think they're going to really have much to say about this. They are still in the construction phase, building around Bryce Young, and I think they're just looking to see higher picks for next year's draft. So give me Arizona to win this one 24-14. Philadelphia Eagles and Washington Commanders. We have a NFC East matchup as the Philadelphia Eagles are heading to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Commanders. The Eagles, you guys are coming off of a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Battle of Pennsylvania, beating them 27-13. Jalen Hurts had a fabulous game, 290 yards in passing, 2 touchdown passes, one to Devontae Smith and one to A.J. Brown, and he also had a rushing touchdown thanks to the brotherly shove. Now, Saquon Barkley didn't have the best game. He had 13 carries for 65 yards. And the question on everybody's mind, it's quite obvious, is that will Saquon be able to beat Eric Dickerson's single season rushing record? And as of recording this, he only needs 418 yards, so that's an average of 139 yards a game. So it is possible, but we'll see. And for the Washington Commanders, you guys are coming off of a close win to the New Orleans Saints, beating them by a single point, 20-19. Jaden Daniels had a solid day, 2 touchdown passes for 226 yards. Brian Robinson, he had an okay day with 65 yards in rushing, but it was Terry McLaurin with 2 receiving touchdowns for 73 yards. The game started getting kind of interesting as the Saints started to crawl themselves back into contention to hopefully win the game. A missed 54-yard field goal by Washington helped them a little bit. Saints scored a touchdown on a somewhat controversial call. Was the clock stopped? Was it not? I don't know. Only to go for 2 for the win and miss it. Washington ekes out with a win. Between this divisional matchup, I am going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles to win this one on the road. I know that the Commanders are going to have a strong defense against Jalen Hurts. If they can get Saquon Barkley running at least 100 yards plus in this game with a touchdown or 2, then I think that's what's going to seal the deal for them. If not, Jalen's going to have to find some other ways. So give me Philly to win this one in a close, somewhat low-scoring affair, 21-20. Los Angeles Rams and New York Jets. The 2 big cities have it out this week as the LA Rams travel out to New Jersey to take on the New York Jets. The Rams are coming off of a win on Thursday Night Football against their divisional rival, the San Francisco 49ers, beating them 12-6. That was one of the most boring games, especially for primetime. It gave me vibes from the Broncos and Colts game from a few years ago on Thursday night. Broncos and Colts fans, we never speak of that game. But in actuality, there was not a single touchdown that was scored in that game. There was a grand total of 13 punts, and the longest field goal for the Rams was from 48 yards. Not much else to say. Next, for the New York Jets, you guys had a win on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars, beating them 32-25, a 1-point difference from your previous matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Only this time, you guys ended up winning. Congratulations. Great day for Aaron Rodgers, 289 yards in passing, but it was actually his connection with Davante Adams, 2 touchdowns for this game. This is what we were waiting for. The good old days of Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to Davante Adams, it finally emerged. They were able to do this with less time and possession of the ball. So again, great efficiency for the Jets. Too little too late for their season, but you made it entertaining for the fans. Between these 2 teams, you got one that is likely going to make it into the playoffs, and then you got another one that is going to play spoiler to ruin everybody else's season. I am going to pick the one that's got more of the playoff contention, being the LA Rams. I think that connection with Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, the list goes on. I think they're going to torch this defense for the Jets. And I think this game will be won in the air. No offense to Kyren Williams or Blake Corum, but I think LA is going to win this one on the road, 28-17. Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks. For our first 4 o'clock matchup, we got ourselves a NFC showdown. The Minnesota Vikings are taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Vikings are coming off of a win against their divisional rival, the Chicago Bears, beating them soundly 30-12. Sam Darnold is showing once again how elite he is, even though he was put into this role a long time ago, not expecting a lot, but he still has shown a great amount of skill. And with his supporting cast of Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, they really don't show many weaknesses. And for the Seahawks, you guys are coming off of a loss to the Green Bay Packers, where you guys had at one point lose Geno Smith after suffering what was appeared to be a leg to ankle injury. And thus Sam Howell stepped in for you guys, and he didn't do well.
Oh no! We suck again!
Yeah, he went 5 for 14 for only 24 yards. Finished off with 1 interception and was sacked 4 times. The only good thing to come out of this game was that Zach Charbonnet did score a touchdown for you guys, but he only had 54 yards in rushing. Not the best. It was definitely a Sunday night matchup that you guys were looking forward to forget. And as of recording this, Geno Smith is still questionable. with this knee injury. I don't know if he's going to play, but if he does, that's going to help the Seahawks a lot more, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So I think that the Vikings are going to win this one. By how much? I don't know. If Sam Howell is going to be playing, it's going to be by a 21-point deficit. If Gino's playing, it might be a 3-10 deficit. We don't know, but I think they're going to win regardless. So give me Vikings to win this one 27-17. New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills. This week we have the New England Patriots heading up to Buffalo to take on their divisional rival, the Bills. The Patriots, they are coming off of a loss to the Arizona Cardinals, losing 30-17. As I mentioned earlier, it was not a good game for the Patriots whatsoever. They had nothing going on with them except for one single field goal in the first half. They didn't score their first touchdown until the fourth quarter, where Drake May threw it to Demario Douglas for a short touchdown pass, and then later on ran it in for himself. To be honest, I do think the Patriots have found their guy, their quarterback that they're going to build around for the next few years. I think he's more competent than Mac Jones was in the same situation, but now is the rebuild phase. And for the Buffalo Bills, they are coming off of a win against the Detroit Lions on the road, where it proved to me three things. One, offensive football is more fun than defensive football. The defensive coordinators for both teams were given a tongue lash, allowing so many points. And three, Josh Allen I think is going to be the MVP. In this stint of football that he's been playing the last few weeks, he has been one of the most entertaining, exciting players to watch. Whether he'll attack you on the ground or he'll attack you in the air, it doesn't matter. You really can't stop him right now. And even though the Lions have one of the most elite defenses right now, Josh was surgical with them. 2 touchdown passes and 2 rushing touchdowns for himself, for 362 yards in the air and 68 on the ground. Just him alone. James Cook also had a fun day, 105 yards of rushing for him for 2 touchdowns. And Khalil Shakir as well as Ray Davis for both of those touchdown catches. Buffalo looks dangerous. With this matchup, I have no doubt it is going to be the Bills to win this one. I don't think that the Patriots are going to tank purposely right now. I know they're going to rebuild for the future, but I don't think that they're going to just like keel over. They might make this entertaining with a touchdown or 2, possibly, but I think it's going to be the Bills to dominate all 4 quarters on all ends, both offense, defense, and special teams. Bills going to win this one 31-10. Jacksonville Jaguars and Las Vegas Raiders. I really have to discuss this one, don't I? Well, at least it's being played in a dome. The Jacksonville Jaguars are coming off of a loss to the New York Jets, losing 32-25. Mac Jones had a really good game, scoring 2 touchdown passes for almost 300 yards. Only problem was he had 2 interceptions. And the 2 touchdowns that Mac Jones threw to were both to Brian Thomas, where he had a massive game, 10 receptions for 105 yards. Excellent performance without securing a win. And for the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to keep this really short. You guys had a matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, losing 15-9. That's it. Putting these 2 teams together, I really do not have a single clue. Both of these teams are just terrible. The only good thing for the Jaguars is that they can rely on Mac Jones, where for the Raiders, I don't know who they have to rely on. I really don't know. Throw Max Crosby in as the quarterback. I don't know. It might not even make a difference. And yeah, this is my shortest review, but give me the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one on the road, 24-3. San Francisco 49ers and Miami Dolphins. San Francisco is heading down to Miami Beach to take on the Dolphins in what they are hoping to be a good turnaround game. Last week they faced the LA Rams in a Thursday night matchup where, again, nothing happened. No touchdowns, nothing. They didn't do anything. They lost 12-6. If you were watching that game, I'm truly sorry. Brock Purdy didn't do much. He had 142 yards in passing. He was sacked 3 times. He threw 1 interception. The only exciting thing that happened in that 49ers game was a 33-yard reception for George Kittle. That's it. Next, and for the Miami Dolphins, they are coming off of a loss to the Houston Texans, losing 20-12. This was definitely a game that the Dolphins wanted to forget, where Tua Tagovailoa, he had less than 200 yards in passing. He threw 3 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. And it just seems that the Dolphins can't get away from the concussion bug because one of their wide receivers that was just activated from the practice squad, Grant Dubose, suffered a very severe head injury, which resulted in him being carted off and placed on injury reserve. I will not show any videos or photographs of the injury. I just ask you to keep him in your thoughts and prayers. It's funny. These 2 teams have more similarities than we realize. They have the same exact record. Both teams had high expectations coming into the season. Both have been crippled because of the injury bug. I'm flip-flopping on this one too many times, but give me Miami to win this one. And I suspect this game is going to be super close. 24-23. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Dallas Cowboys. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are heading out to Jerry World to take on the Cowboys for Sunday Night Football. The Buccaneers are coming off of a phenomenal win against the LA Chargers, beating them 40-17. An impressive day for Baker Mayfield, 288 yards in passing, 4 touchdown passes. Yes, he had the 1 interception, but his QB rating was 135.3. Phenomenal day for him. Same thing goes with Bucky Irving. He had 117 yards in rushing, no touchdowns. Those went to Mike Evans, who had 2 touchdown catches for 159 yards and 9 receptions. As of right now, the Buccaneers are the leaders of the NFC South Division, and it just shows to you that they are a lot more dangerous than what they appear. When the playoffs come around, look out for them. And for the Dallas Cowboys, my apologies. I thought you guys were going to keel over and lose to the Panthers, so that's on me. I apologize. Instead, you had a 30-14 win over the Carolina Panthers. Cooper Rush had 214 yards with 3 touchdown passes, with the first one going to his favorite target, CeeDee Lamb, where he finished off with 116 receiving yards as well as 9 receptions. And then Rico Dowdle, 149 yards for 25 carries. No touchdowns for him though. Overall, this was a solid win for you guys against, yes, an easy Panthers team to beat, but it just feels like it's good reassurance for the Cowboys. If Dak Prescott were to go down, Cooper Rush would make a great substitute for him, regardless of what time you are in the season. With that being said, between these two teams, I do think it's going to be the Buccaneers winning this on Sunday night. I think that Baker Mayfield is going to have a really good game. I'm looking to see about 3 touchdown passes for him, maybe a touchdown for both Bucky Irving and maybe Rachaad White, but I do think Dallas will keep it close. So make Sunday Night Football a high-scoring game, 34-28. New Orleans Saints and Green Bay Packers. For our last game of the week, we have the Monday night matchup where the Saints are going to be going down to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. New Orleans, last week you had a matchup against the Washington Commanders where you lost by a single point, 19-20. It was a close match. I mean, for the first half, maybe first 3 quarters really, you guys did not do anything. I mean, at one point it was 17-0, and then you guys started to come back here, and then we had that one controversial call where did the play clock really stop, or was that more of a broadcasting issue? Who knows? Regardless, you guys did score that touchdown, but failed on the 2-point conversion for the win. If it was me, I would still just kick the field goal, bring it into overtime, but I understand the logic for being aggressive. Why do you have to lose? And for the Green Bay Packers, you guys demolished the Seattle Seahawks last week on Sunday Night Football, defeating them 30-13. Jordan Love looked great, 2 touchdown passes for him, 229 yards in passing. Josh Jacobs, 94 yards for 26 carries, touchdown for him. And those 2 touchdown passes from Jordan Love went in the direction of Romeo Doubs. Another great game for him as well. The game was not very competitive to begin with, and when Geno Smith went down, and you guys had to take on Sam Howell, well, it was probably easy going for you guys then. And I think that's going to continue between these two teams on Monday Night Football. I think it is going to be the Packers to win this one at Lambeau. Again, it is so difficult to play the Packers at Lambeau, and with Jordan Love showing that he is a very elite quarterback, starting to grow a little bit more into his form, and his supporting cast with Josh Jacobs, with Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, I am going to pick the Packers to win this one by a considerable margin, very close to what they did against the Seahawks, 31-14. And with that, that concludes this week's picks and predictions. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, please like, share, and subscribe for more videos such as this. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and I'm still trying to get to my goal of 50 subscribers before the Super Bowl, so let's try and make that happen. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Y'all have a good one, and Merry Christmas.